Tip number 2 is to remove yourself from your money, right? So before it was take money away from yourself, now you're going to remove yourself from your money. What does that mean? That means get out of this headspace where I am only what I make in this industry. I am only worth the amount of money from every shift that I bring home. If I think like that, I'm going to keep myself in a position where my worth is determined on the dollar amount that I take home every night that I go to work. Now, that can sound great if you're in the high season and there's lots of tourism and the club is bumping all the time and you're having 4-figure nights back to back. But there is always the cycle. It's always that roller coaster. And there's going to be those nights when you are just like scraping by just to get the house fees back. Or, maybe it's like a $100 night. Like you made just enough to buy some groceries. And if you make that part of your identity, that can really, really break you down over time. And it's going to be very hard, aside from like your self-esteem, it's going to be very hard for you to actually see the long game and know what your actual annual income projection is. Now, like I said, this fluctuates because we have high seasons, low seasons, tourism, conferences, all these things. But it all breaks down into an average. And that average you can figure out by asking yourself, okay, well, how many hours am I going to work a week, or how many shifts? Maybe I work 4 shifts a week and they're all 5 hours long. So I'm working 20 hours a week. And then what I make per shift. And then I divide that total shift amount by the number of hours that I make. And there I've got an hourly average. And you need to look at the way you spend your time at the club as what you were to bring home every hour. Because if you know what you're making hourly and based on how many hours a week you work, now you know your weekly average. And once you know your weekly average, you can account for things like unpaid time off. We don't get vacation time like employed workers do. We actually have to make up the money that we spend when we're out doing fun things like traveling across the world. Now that I know that, right? So now I know how many weeks that I'm going to be out of work, about 5 to 6 weeks out of work. I have to now calculate my weekly average for the amount of weeks that I'm missing if I want my annual projected income to stay up here. If I don't do that, it's going to drop a little bit. It's going to drop a little bit more every week that I take off. It also helps me to manage my time better because now that I know if I'm going to go to Europe in May, I want to make sure that I have enough money. Say I want to spend $5,000 for a couple, like 2 weeks in Europe, which is actually pretty low. But if I plan to spend $5,000, how many shifts do I need to work to pay for the trip, plus the amount of time that I'm going to take off, right? So not only that, but I have to essentially pay myself twice as much. A $5,000 trip to Europe is actually going to cost me $10,000, right? So the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to be strategic about how you intend to take your time off, and that there never really is such a thing as making it up later, because we don't get time back. Time is not an infinite resource that we can just make more of. Once time is gone, that's it. It's gone. Now you can work more shifts, but the reason why I bring this up is because can you work 5 shifts a week if you're going to Europe in May? Can you handle that much? Can your body handle that? So the point is like planning the entire year out. Plan your entire year out for your annual projected income so that you're not kicking yourself in the ass later trying to pay your taxes at the very last minute. By the way, I highly recommend paying estimated quarterly taxes so that you don't end up paying a lot in January of the following year. And then this will help you have a little bit more peace of mind so that you can go to work, and that when you do have those nights that are just a grind, you don't want to be there, you don't have to worry about it, because this is not about the individual shift. This is about the entire average, the whole big picture.